We all want to do right when it comes to recycling, but sometimes doing it wrong can be really dangerous and even deadly. You're a good person, right? You hold the door for others, you practice pre-cycling, and you recycle every single thing that you could possibly think might be recyclable. So that's good, right? This is what we call wish cycling. You put something in the recycling because you think it might be recyclable, but you're not completely sure. Or if you're not sure, you're like, well, this should be recyclable, so I'm gonna put it in there anyways. You might even think that you're giving someone a job to help sort the recycling. So even if you're not right, it's gonna be beneficial for those people to get employment because they have to do the sorting. I know you have good intentions for those items in order to get the maximum benefit out of them as far as resources go, and we all have wish cycled before. I'm very guilty of it. Here's the thing. Please stop wish cycling! Wish cycling can be really dangerous. Those sanitation workers that I know you care about are put in pretty grave danger when there's too much wish cycling going on. They're out there sorting all those things that are flying really fast past them. And if they are doing extra work sorting out things that you've been wish cycling, they might be missing something that was underneath another item. Maybe a piece of metal that's going to jam up the machine, cost $150,000 to fix, and delay recycling for days and putting them out of work for days. Or maybe they're missing something that's really dangerous, like that lithium-ion battery that could start the place on fire, and then not only are their lives in danger, firefighters' lives are in danger, and that plant could burn down and you might not have recycling available for a very long period of time. According to the Dakota County Master Recycler and Composter Handbook from fall 2019, there's about 3,500 fires a year caused by batteries, and about a dozen of those places burn down a year. But there is a really easy way that you can keep your fellow community members safe and to maximize what comes out of your recycling, and that is, when in doubt, throw it out. How do you avoid wish cycling? Each hauler should have a list on their website or something available to you on what they can accept or not accept. So check that out first, and if you can't find your answer for something, give them a call. It probably is kind of scary for people these days because people don't like calling other folks, but I bet they would appreciate that you are trying to do things the right way to keep them protected and keep them in their jobs. I'm guessing you're probably the one in your household that kind of peeks in the recycling every once in a while and find things that either shouldn't be there, or you look in the trash and find items that should be in the recycling, and maybe you nag, maybe you don't say anything and it just bothers you, maybe you don't care at all, I don't know. But the best way to go about getting your whole household compliant with how to recycle the right things is just to talk about it. Maybe you kind of wait a little bit and see what are some of the common items that get misplaced in either the recycling or the trash. And then just talk to the other people in your house. Hey, I noticed that these get put in here a lot and these can actually be recyclable, instead of just getting on people every single time. Your hauler may even have printables or stickers that you can put right on the side of your trash or recycling that lets you know exactly what they take. And this can really help, especially with little kids, so they can see what exactly goes into those recycling bins. You could even make up some games where you save up some commonly recycled items, or maybe some tricky ones too, and make it a game with your kids to play, like, okay, which one goes into the recycling and which one goes into trash or somewhere else. I've played this game with a lot of adults at events, and a lot of people had a ton of fun because we put up a fastest time of day, and if you got the fastest time of day for sorting and you got enough points, then you won a little prize too. So it was really competitive, plus there may have been a little bit drinking there too. A lot of people came back and told me that that was the most fun they had in that event, and that they learned a lot too. So whether you're younger or older, there's always something new that you can learn about recycling, because it does change quite often and the rules do change, so it may be different next year. But involve your family, involve your kids, involve your friends, make it a challenge against your neighbors to see which team can get the most points in that game. Talk to the people in your house about why recycling is important to you, and that will make it a lot more personal, so that your kids aren't going to want to do something if it's just another rule. But if it's something that you feel really strongly about for a good reason, then maybe they'll be more compliant to do things the right way, or help remember to do things the right way. I know it can be confusing, especially if your neighborhood allows more than one hauler to pick up your recycling. So your neighbor might have different rules than you, depending on your city's standards and your county's guidelines for hauling and what they can accept and not. But going over the rules is going to save you a lot of time and wondering, and you're going to feel great about knowing that you are doing it right. Here are some of the guidelines that we were given in Dakota County for our hauler. Make sure you contact your hauler to see what their guidelines are for recycling items. The first rule is clean, empty, dry, and caps on. So the clean, empty, dry part is so that none of your paper gets contaminated and your neighbor's paper doesn't get contaminated. And you should have less than a teaspoon of any type of food or liquid in your recycling for each item, so that it doesn't contaminate the rest of the paper in there. The caps on is because some caps are going to get recycled within the recycling process. Not all of them, but it'll get sorted out if your hauler says that that's okay. So you can just leave your caps on and some of them might get through. Otherwise, if your caps are just sitting loose in the recycling, they're not going to make it through the machinery to get through the process. They probably will just go in the trash anyways, but you can try and some of them might get through. The other issue is contamination. When things get thrown into the mix that don't belong there, they can make the final product not so great, and haulers are going to get either fined for that, which might be reflected in what you pay for services, or they might not be able to accept that item anymore because they're delivering a poor quality. When you toss a dirty item into the recycling, or if it has food or it's wet, it can contaminate the rest of paper's the biggest issue that you want a clean, dry product for. It's going to contaminate that paper and ruin it for the rest of the paper, not only in your bin, but in your neighbor's bin too. Number 2, keep all items loose and unbagged. There should be no bags containing your items in your recycling bin. Definitely not plastic bags, because that's going to clog up machinery. And I know some people like to line their recycling bin with paper bags, because a paper bag is recyclable in itself, but your sanitation workers need to be able to see everything that is in front of them. They don't know if there's going to be a dangerous item within a bag. So if it's in a plastic bag, a lot of times it's just going to get pulled off and thrown in the trash. If it's in a paper bag, it might be hiding something, or they're going to spend extra time trying to sort through your bag instead of paying attention to what else is on the belt going by them really fast. So this is what your trash should look like. Things bagged up when they can be. Okay, well, there's only one in there right now, but it's all contained. This is what your recycling should look like when you have all your stuff in it. So I have my flattened cardboard on top, but everything in there is loose and it's not in any bags, definitely not any plastic bags. Plus, your items shouldn't be gunking up your in-house recycling bin, because they should be clean, empty, and dry. You should hear that sweet, sweet sound of all your recyclables being dumped into your curbside recycling bin. next rule is just because it has that little circle with the arrows going around doesn't mean it's recyclable with your hauler. In fact, that little arrow circle doesn't mean it's recyclable. It's just telling you what that product is made out of. It's called the resin identification number, and you'll see it looks something like this. Sometimes you have to look for it if it's hard to see in products. Sometimes you can't read it like hardly at all. But it will tell you what that plastic is made out of. You want to only recycle with us, it's numbers 1, 2, and 5 with that resin identification code. So any other like 3s, 4s, 6s, those aren't going to go in your curbside recycling. And this is telling you again what that plastic is made out of, so they can sort it into the right categories. And you should only be recycling those 1, 2s, and 5s if they are not a black container, because there's no market for black plastic around here right now. And also if they weren't in contact with any household hazardous waste, because you don't want the household hazardous waste chemicals in with the plastic that's going to be made into your new food containers or new personal product containers. So usually it's just foods and personal product containers that end up getting recycled. There are some other things, but it can be kind of tricky because if it's a really bright color, like really bright color construction paper, might not go through well with the recycling because it could contaminate it if they want to make that white paper. And those bright colors can kind of contribute to making it off spec. Also, like the bright orange laundry detergent bottles are going to be off spec too, because they don't want orange plastic, they want the other colors of plastic. So when you're buying those items, think about what colors you are purchasing too, and if that's going to be beneficial in the long run for the next life of that plastic container. If you wouldn't rub it all over your body or eat it, don't recycle the container that it was in. The guy that gave us a tour of our recycling facility said that one of the most common recycled items are dirty diapers, because people see that little resin identification circle on their cardboard box that their diapers come in, and they think that that means that dirty diapers are recyclable. They are not. Do not recycle dirty diapers. And just while we're on like the subject of that, there are no flushable wipes. It's not a thing. Don't flush them down your toilet. Different subject. Please don't recycle your diapers. That is nasty and a big risk to our sanitation workers' health too. Hard plastics like hangers, even if they say that there's like a number 5 on there, they're probably not recyclable because that's kind of the last stage in their life cycle. But that hard plastic is like the last step they have before not being quite usable for those products anymore. So those are likely just trash. There's also a lot of toys that have different components to them. So parts of that toy might be recyclable, but the overall toy as a whole isn't going to be recyclable in a regular recycling. There are a lot of programs coming up. I know TerraCycle has one where you can recycle toys, and you basically pay to ship it to them and have them recycle those toys. So they can do those multi-part things. Just look on their website to see what they do have available. If you're gonna buy an item such as like a shoe that is advertised as 100% recyclable, like that's great, but you have to be able to know that your place will either accept it or that company has to be able to tell you where exactly you can recycle those shoes or where to send them back to. Lots of different items can be made out of recyclable material, and they would be recyclable, but to that line in the sorting machine at the recycling facility, it's not going to recognize a shoe as being recyclable. It's going to recognize it as trash and just toss it out into the landfill. And there's lots of cool things that are made out of recyclable materials. Like this sweatshirt is made out of recycled plastic bottles, but I can't just throw this into the recycling and expect that to get recycled with the plastic bottles, especially because it's mixed with all sorts of other materials too. Only recycle items larger than a Post-it note. If it's smaller than a Post-it note or a credit card is another way to kind of gauge that, it's not going to go through that machinery. It's just going to fall to the bottom and head to the landfill anyways. So either bulk those things together, like if you have aluminum foil, you can save it up if it's clean and dry and make it into a ball that's bigger than 3 inches in diameter. And so that's going to be big enough to go through versus your one little yogurt container lid that you peeled off. Or if you have scraps of paper, you can put it into a bigger envelope, and when you're ready to put that in the recycling, you staple it shut so that that whole envelope gets through the process, and those little scraps of paper can be made into that pulp. And it's fine if you have the staples in there and things, because that will get pulled out when it's being made into the pulp. Next one is no plastic bags, wrap, or film in your curbside recycling, and no receipts in your recycling. The plastic film is going to clog up the machinery, and it has to go to a special drop-off spot anyways. And the receipt has BPA in the printing material, so you don't want that in with your other products. So those are the rules of recycling. I know that wish cycling has good intentions behind it, but it can actually do more harm than good. You just need to know those rules for your own hauler and double check with them to make sure that they apply to your home, and then you guys are going to be set to recycle the right way. In the grand scheme of things, the most important things that you should be recycling are glass and aluminum, because they can be recycled over and over and over again. Paper is going to lose quality as it gets recycled again and again, because those fibers are going to get smaller and smaller each time, and plastics aren't always going to be able to recycle indefinitely either. So those glass bottles, those aluminum cans, if you can recycle those, you are already like way ahead of the game. Share that recycling info with your family and your friends, and that can kind of eliminate some of the hard feelings about things not getting properly recycled in the home. And it could even make it fun for you guys to challenge each other to do it the right way. Wish cycling can do more harm than good, but now you know the basic rules of recycling, and that can make your home a lot greener and your community a lot safer too. So don't ever feel bad about those things that you wish cycled. That's in the past. It's okay. You're gonna let go of it, and we're gonna move on and do recycling right. If you found the information in this video helpful, please like it. It lets me know that you are enjoying it. And if you want to get videos from A Greener Demeanor right to your inbox, click subscribe and then the bell button so that you never miss a video that comes out. Thanks for watching.